everybody, it's NFL Presidential Address for Week 6 of the NFL season, and I'm excited to have Ralph Michaels join us. I'm Lawrence Presman, the Prez, and we're going to look at a bunch of angles, some trends. We're going to take apart every NFL game of the board. We're going to look at a survivor pick, a money line play, and perhaps a teaser. You'll have to stay till the end of the show. As I said, Ralph Michaels is with us. This show is near and dear to me. Huge thanks to Drew Martin for stepping in while I was away. He hosted the college football betting show with Dave Koken and Teddy Covers, as well as a bunch of the Betting Ed shows. But let's get into this one. I want to bring in Ralph. And Ralph, how are you? It was so great seeing you on Thursday, brother.
Always a pleasure, Prez. I'll tell you what, you're a blast to have dinner with, and those that don't hang around you, it's their misfortune.
Well, thanks for the kind words. Listen, Ralph, before we get into angles, trends, and the primetime games, you know, I just want to talk about what's going on with me. Look, this is the bottom line. I'm having an absolute nightmare NFL season. I'm having the worst NFL season of my entire betting life. I have not had one single winning week. Every under is going over. Every over is going under. I'm actually 9-31 on turnovers against me. Teddy, I tell that to Teddy, and his response is, well, start picking teams who have a better turnover rate. Ralph, I mean, I've picked every damn team, and I cannot get over this turnover hump. You and I have been doing this for, I mean, me, I'm at 25 years. You're probably at 35, 40 years. We've all had these runs just starting the season. I mean, like 30% or something. It's really affecting me. I mean, I literally texted you saying I want to quit. I can't handle it, bro. I honestly, I can't. I'd rather lose my money twice than lose any of our customers' money once.
Well, you know, my first thought is, number one, and part of the reason I respect the hierarchy, including yourself and Wager Talk, is the honesty with the records and the full transparency. You know, it's not just trying to brush it under the carpet and then coming up with big plays to get sales. With that said, you know, your job as the handicapper is to downgrade your plays, perhaps make them lesser values, keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, we've all been through those runs. It's all going to come back to normalcy. You know, I was on one last Thanksgiving in college hoops. You know, I felt like as depressed as can be because college basketball in November is my favorite sport. You know, Marco was on one in the summer, and look at the way he's come back and on fire. So it's going to happen. It's an unfortunate thing. But again, being the honesty and the sincerity about it is why Wager Talk is so different.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And also, just to add to that, and then we'll get right to the show, it's not just the honesty and the integrity that we have. And also, look, we don't have games of the year. I mean, we really are grinding bettors. But it's also how bad we take these losses. I mean, I was sick to my stomach. You and Tony, Marco, Teddy, you guys had to talk me off of a bloody ledge on Monday night. And I think that goes a long way, and it shows the customers that we really do care. With all that said, you've started the NFL season absolutely phenomenal. A 17-6 NFL run. You're 31-19 in your last 50 college football plays. We got a promo up for you. We'll talk about it every now and again throughout the show. But it's $199 for your next 30 days. $199 for your next 30 days. That includes every play that you release. Just head over to wagertalk.com. Use the promo code 126. Why 126?
Well, you're saving $126 off the package. 30-day access, you go to Wager Talk, you go to the Ralph Michaels page. 30-day all-access package is $325. Put in code 126, and you're going to pay $199 for 30 days of service. Basically, you're getting 4 weeks for the price of 2.
Well, let's get straight to it. Some angles from me. You know, we talked about this last show. Away teams are still rolling. 63% covering against the spread. Home teams are 37% against the spread. Favorites are getting slaughtered. 42.7%. Underdogs at 57%. And only 46% of all the games have gone over the total. Truly radical when you think that I play mostly unders, and I'm still losing. Ralph, what do you got for us?
Well, the first thing I want to do is just help educate our viewers. And, this is something that the record's backtracked. But if you can find situations to fit into this category, it's been very successful. Now, again, there's no games I can tell you because you have to forecast what's going to happen. But it's as simple as this. If you can find NFL dogs that you think are going to rush for 160 yards, that's the situation. So you have to have a good running dog. You have to have a favorite that has a bad rushing defense. Well, if you find a dog that rushes for 160 yards going back to 2011, you are 142, 34, and 7, 81% against the spread, including 13-1-1 this year. So again, that's just something to help our people learn how to handicap in the NFL.
That's an absolute mind-boggling trend, Ralph. I mean, and it makes sense. There's a lot of logic behind that trend. Ball control, keeping the other team's offense out of rhythm. I mean, I race through the board here at 100 miles an hour, and I think to myself, really, I don't see any team that is going to really rush for 160 this week. I mean, maybe Dallas against the Jets, but they're a favorite. Do you see any teams offhand that fits into that trend?
I don't. Indy fit into it last week. And again, you're only going to look maybe one a week. That's about the average. So this is just something people put in their pockets long-term, keep looking at it. Another thing is when you take NFL teams off a loss playing a bad team, it's situations where you can play good. So I broke down the teams and how teams did when you're off a loss. If you take every NFL team off a loss since 2016, when they played Miami, Denver, and Arizona, three very bad teams, you've cashed 66.2% of the time. That's it. You play those three worst teams. You take an NFL team that's off a loss against those teams. What do? They're pissed off. They're motivated, and they beat bad teams, and they cover the spread.
So is that does that have any relation to away or home? Because we have Dallas in that position this week at -7 against the Jets. We have Atlanta this week at -2.5 against Arizona. So does that take
it? Not nor home or away, just simply a team off a loss playing those teams. The better team, motivated against a very weak foe. So again, a simple situation. Winless teams, week 6 on. So that means these teams are either 0-5 or 0-6. Do you expect them to win the next game? Well, I'll tell you what. Winless teams from week 6 on, 8-20 against the spread, 37.8%. Not a huge number, but I want people to know what to expect. Obviously, Washington's playing Miami, so one of those is going to win. But again, just a situation. Don't try to play a guessing game when a bad team is all of a sudden going to get good. How about teams off their first loss? Week 6 and later, like we're into now.
like Kansas City, for instance.
Exactly. You're off your first loss as a favorite, like Kansas City was last week, and you're a favorite again this week. Since 1996, Prez, we're going back 25 years. 11, 31-1 against the spread, 26.2%. That says fade Kansas City and take Houston this week. So winless teams that lose as a favorite and then are a favorite again the next week. It's not, we lost our first game, we bounce back. It's a letdown losing that game.
Yeah.
And lastly, how about 2 specific team angles that are a combined 30-2 on one team? When you have a team that has a regular season win total of under 5, a bad team, and they're off back-to-back away losses and this time at home, that's the New York Jets this week. The Jets in that situation, 1-20 against the spread since 2013. Again, regular season win total of 4 or less. So the team had no expectations coming in. They're off back-to-back away losses, now playing at home, 1-20 against the spread. And on the flip side, if you have a favorite of 3 or more, off a loss as a favorite versus a winless team from week 5 on, that's the Dallas Cowboys. They're 10-1 against the spread. So we have a 1-20 angle on the Jets. We have a 10-1 angle on Dallas, a combined 30-2 pair of angles.
He's Ralph Michaels, one of the best to ever live at betting. Absolutely rolling right now in football, and you can get his next 30 days for $199. Go to wagertalk.com. Use the promo code 126. Ralph, let's get to the primetime preview. New York Giants plus 17, over and under 41, 41.5. It came out at New England at minus 15. Barkley is not going to play this week. The New York Giants did not look good against Minnesota. They were shut down. I think ultimately the same thing is going to happen again this week. New England's defense is ridiculous. We keep seeing these massive point spreads this year. There's a lot of parity in football. There's so many teams that are 3-2 and 2-3, and then there's 3 or 4 teams at the top and 3 or 4 teams at the bottom where, we're seeing numbers in the 20s. Here we go again. New England is at home. They're on prime time. They're for sure going to be able to put up between 24 and 35 points is my guess. And the question then becomes, what are the Giants going to do? And I think they're going to struggle. I'm going to lay off of this game, but my lean is towards New England, except I can't bring myself to take 17 points.
Well, I want no part of the points. You look at the Giants, and we talked about it last week on the show. Without Barkley, Daniel Jones is going to get exposed. What did they do against a good defense? 211 yards. Well, this week again, you have no Saquon Barkley, and then you add in his 2 biggest receivers. He has 2 people that have over 20 targets on the team. Evan Ingram, not playing. Sterling Shepard, not playing. Your best 3 skill players are not on the field. Now, New England's banged up, don't get me wrong. Their injury list is big. They're missing their top offensive lineman. Brady's talked about how he can't bounce back. But Bill Belichick's calling the defense this year. New England Patriots allowing 7 points per game. New England Patriots allowing 238 yards per game. I've been on the Patriots under 3 times already this year. I'm going to be on the Patriots under again Thursday night.
Yeah, and I think offhand the Patriots are 4-1 to the under, and I can't do it, Ralph. 41 in this day and age is just such a low number, and I honestly feel like the Patriots could put that up themselves. You know what Bill Belichick likes to do on prime time, and he's never shy to run the score up. This is just a straight layoff game for me. Pittsburgh going into LA, playing the Chargers. The line came out at the Chargers -5. It's now -7. We have a total of 41 and 41.5. It's dropped from 43.5. And, Ralph, here's the bottom line for me. I really expected the Chargers to be a strong contender for the Super Bowl this year. And if you go back and you look over the last 3 or 4 years, this is a team that has always started off slow and then rattled off 10 straight. They've actually started off better this year than the last 2 years, but still not very good. I don't think I can lay 7 points with the Chargers against anybody right now. Their offense is completely out of sync. And Pittsburgh, they had a tough loss against Baltimore last week. It looks like Mason Rudolph, he's not playing, but it looks like he's for real. I don't know. I want to take the Chargers here, Ralph. They have not earned the right to lay 7. I'm going to lay off of this game.
I am not going to play a side either. I have no interest in taking Devlin Hodges, making his first road start. He was an undrafted free agent. He beat out Dobbs. A lot of it had to do with money, keeping the third quarterback in the preseason. Gardner Minshew played a ton in preseason for Jacksonville. He was different. Hobbs, I tweeted it out, and you follow me at Twitter, @CalSportsLV. You'll see his game-by-games in the preseason when he played. Mop-up time, no real experience. He was the number 4 quarterback going in the preseason. You don't get snaps. That's so much different than a guy who was getting 1 and 2 snaps like in Jacksonville. You're playing against the Chargers D that is playing very well. 335 yards, 18 first downs. But I don't want part of the Chargers as a favorite either. We saw him score 13 against Denver. Phillip Rivers does not look the same. Melvin Gordon's back. He didn't do anything against the Denver defense. Well, that Pittsburgh defense has looked just as good, albeit against Cincinnati and Baltimore the last 2 weeks, division foes that they were fired up for and very familiar. This is a game that I really do like the under again. This possibly could end up on my card as one of my top 3 plays in the NFL this week.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. You're watching the NFL Presidential Address. Detroit coming off of a bye, plus 4.5 going into Green Bay. The over and under is 47. Green Bay with just an absolute massive victory in Dallas last week. There are a lot of people talking about Green Bay as the best team in the NFC, and I am not one of those people. They got lucky to win against Minnesota at home. They lost to Philadelphia at home. Dallas turned the ball over 3 times to let Green Bay go up 31-3. And then Green Bay left the door wide open for them, and Dallas actually had a shot at pulling that game out of their ass. Detroit looks like a team that has a different psyche about them. They look tough. They look competitive. They look like they care, and they're coming off of a bye, and I'm getting more than a field goal. I think this is going to be a close game. I like Detroit here, Ralph.
I give Detroit credit. They're a team that I didn't have as high as some early in the year, and then you look what they did to Arizona. Yeah, they were going to win. They end up tying. Beating the Chargers didn't look impressive. Yeah, you went to Philly, and Philly was so banged up, and you won. And then you hung with the Chiefs at home, a game you could have won, and Mahomes had a game-winning drive. So while you could say, yeah, I can see why they're not that good, on the flip side, I can also say, hey, this team is 2-1-1, and they're playing very well. Holding Kansas City to 438 yards and 34 points is an accomplishment when Mahomes is healthy. Prez, I started a new NFL stat sheet this week at Wager Talk, and it's on my homepage. And I think this is one of the best games that explains the difference in the two teams. Right now, Detroit's played the number 14 schedule. And in that schedule, they're exactly even in yards per play. Offensive yards per play minus defensive yards per play. And when you look at yards per game, they're minus 18, a little bit to the negative. But Green Bay has played a very similar schedule, the number 12 schedule in the NFL. They're minus 0.5 yards per play, so a half a yard per play worse. And they're minus 40 yards per game. You're talking a team that is minus 40 yards per game against a Detroit team that's performing better. Does Stafford have confidence against Detroit? Well, hell yeah. They've beaten Green Bay 4 straight times. So you have a Detroit team that's very confident, has gone into Green Bay each of the last 2 years, has beaten them, is coming off a game on a bye that they could have won. And I do like Detroit as well as a dog here.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. Let's get into the early games. Ralph, Vegas knocked me out, dude. I don't know if there was dust in the air. I literally woke up one morning with blood all over my pillow. My nose was bleeding. My throat was swollen. I can't come back for at least a month. I am struggling to recover.
Well, that's that clean air out here. You're not used to it. It screws up your system.
Yeah, really clean. Carolina, Tampa Bay, the game's in London, England. Carolina -2. Cam Newton not playing. Huge line move. It came out for a split second at Tampa Bay -2.5, and it's gone all the way in the other direction. The over and under is 47.5. And, Tampa Bay showed moxie against New Orleans. Their defense is so porous, Ralph. And Carolina looks good. I mean, it's amazing. Cam's going to come back and they're going to stink. You can just feel it. I like the over in this game, Ralph. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think anybody, including the New York Jets, could put up points against this Tampa Bay defense. And I don't think any team can hold Tampa Bay's offense down. I mean, we saw what New Orleans did to Dallas 2 weeks ago from a defensive perspective, and they couldn't do it against Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay's offense is phenomenal. Their defense is a disaster, and for that reason, I like over the total of 47.
Well, I will say this. Tampa Bay scored 24 against the Saints, but they still only put up 252 yards. So I think we credit the Saints defense for that against a division foe. Again, we know Bruce Arians is a quarterback whisperer. We know Jameis Winston is going to get his touchdown to interception ratio improved. But the way Christian McCaffrey's playing, I just can't play against him. You have Kyle Allen, who's completing 67% with a 5.0 ratio. Well, the reason? Well, you can run play action when you have a running back like McCaffrey averaging, 5+ yards per carry. And you have people on the offense that can stretch the field like DJ Moore and even McCaffrey receiving. McCaffrey is looking to set a record as far as total yards go, and he very well may get it. The question is, can his body keep up at this pace? I think this week it still can, but as the season progresses, we have to watch how many touches he gets each game, because he is so much higher than the next person as far as touches are involved. But this is a game where the Panthers have revenge. I like Rivera in that role. If you remember game number 2 of the season, I think it was a Thursday night game. Carolina, it's a game they should have won. Cam Newton was at the 1. He was too hurt to do a quarterback sneak. They run McCaffrey to the corner. He doesn't get there. They don't win the game. Tampa Bay wins. I think with revenge, I like the Panthers here.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. You're watching the NFL Presidential Address. Make sure to check out Puck Time every single day, Monday to Friday. We talk hockey, and also the betting edge. We have 2 different guests on every day. We look at a couple of college football games and a couple of NFL games, and baseball is going on right now. If any of you guys are watching this show on Wednesday, I have a 5% play up tonight for the Washington Dodgers game, and you can have it for $15 instead of $40. Use the promo code PREZ15. That's PREZ15. Ralph, Cincinnati doing what we expected, losing, playing Baltimore. Baltimore with a big win last week against Pittsburgh. Now they find themselves -11. The total is 48. I am staying as far away from this game as possible. The bottom line is I can't take Baltimore at that type of a number. Their defense isn't right. Their offense is not what it was the first 2 games of the season. This is a straight pass for me.
Well, you look at Baltimore and you look at their yards per play. They have played probably the 3rd easiest schedule in football, and they are minus 0.6 yards per play, which is number 25 in football. So that's not the team I am going to back as a favorite. You look at the Ravens, they've gone 2-9 as a favorite their last 11 games. They've gone 1-7 as a home favorite. And I did talk about winless teams week 6 on that are only 8-20 in Cincinnati. But I just think this line is too inflated. Your wins for Baltimore against Miami, no biggie, against Arizona, again, a bottom-ranked team, and then against Pittsburgh, and you were against a 3rd-string quarterback, and you needed a fumble to get that game and win. You only put up 277 yards. So that offense we've learned from Baltimore, they were so fake playing Miami and Arizona early. They have no business being an 11-point favorite. So despite being despite the Bengals being that poor, I still do lean with Cincy in this game.
Yeah, and I understand that, Ralph. I mean, it makes sense. It's a division rivalry game. Cincinnati is I don't want to call them a proud team, but, with their new coach, this team is trying to get a winning culture set up. The problem for me here is Dalton is a disaster, and I can't count on this offense. I mean, can you see a 17-3 game? Can you see a 20-6 game? I can. I actually like the under in this game, but I can't put any of my money on this one.
One thing you said that I think is very important is you have a first-year head coach in Zach Taylor. An 0-4 or an 0-5 or an 0-6 team with a first-year head coach is not going to stop trying. Those guys know they're going to play. They know their coach is going to be there next year. Having a lame duck head coach and being 0-5 or 0-6, I could see teams quitting. So a big distinction when you're looking at teams and looking at their records, depending on their coaching style.
Yeah, and I think you probably see that with Miami, the New York Jets. I think both their coaches will be on the hot seat, whereas Cincinnati, Zach Taylor won't. I think this one here, Seattle-Cleveland, I think this is one of the most interesting games on the board. Seattle -1. The over and under is 47. And, man, I am really, really impressed with Seattle, and I wasn't. I thought coming into the season that they were really going to struggle to make the playoffs. It's not... I think it's still going to be close. Look, they've got San Fran and the Rams in that division. But Russell Wilson is playing all world right now, maybe the best football of his career. Lockett looks like he's uncoverable. They're running the ball well. It doesn't matter who is on that defensive unit. They are playing well defensively. And Cleveland is all out of sorts. Baker Mayfield, if you watch the game on Monday night, he just overthrew receivers. I mean, he just did not play well. We saw this 3 weeks ago, though, Ralph, and then they go into Baltimore and win. Now they're coming home, playing Cleveland. The division is playing Seattle. The division is still up for grabs. I think we're going to get a really good effort from Cleveland. I think, though, their coach is way in over his head, and now he's coaching against one of the best coaches in the NFL. I'm speaking to a lot of people, Ralph. There's a ton of smart money coming in on Seattle. I hate to say this, but this is a layoff game for me too.
I went on a rant last week. I did a video at Wager Talk for the Browns in San Francisco, and again, you have to remember that Freddie Kitchens, before last year, he was never even an OC.
Yeah.
At the start of the year, Freddie Kitchens wasn't an OC. He became an interim OC 7 or 8 games in when they fired the coach. Then he gets the head coaching job. He names himself OC, and I completely agree he's overmatched with double duty. Listen, Sean McVay did it, but there's very few coaches that we've seen so many coaches struggle in the NFL that do double duty. Kingsbury's another one that does that. So, but with that said, I'm going to go back to my stat sheet, and I love the stat sheet in the NFL because stats don't lie. And you look at Seattle, they've played the number 26 schedule. They have a win against Cincinnati. They have a win against Pittsburgh when they lost their quarterback. They have a win against Arizona. Take those 3 games out, they're 1-1. They lost to New Orleans and they beat the Rams, in a game where the Rams could have kicked that field goal and won. So you break down Seattle, and I'm not that impressed. You look at Cleveland. Cleveland's played the number 9 schedule in the league. Seattle is plus 0.1 yards per play. Cleveland's plus 0.2. Cleveland's stats are actually better, as bad as they looked. And then you want to talk about value. After Seattle played last week against the Rams, and before Cleveland played, the Browns were a 2.5-point favorite that you could bet on here in Vegas.
Yeah.
What happened? What have you done for me lately? You look at the Browns game, and now we moved 3.5, even 4 points, and it could go higher than that. And then I'm going to say this. You look at the Browns. Everyone threw them under the bus when they lost to Tennessee 43-13. What do they do the next week? They look great against the New York Jets 23-3. Everyone threw them under the bus after they lost to the Rams, scoring 13 points. What did they do at Baltimore? They looked like world beaters, 40-25. This is a young team learning how to win. They've bounced back twice before. And if you want to talk about value, 4.5 points of value, it's on the Browns this week.
I love it. I love it, Ralph. That's a great take. Houston, Kansas City, this game is going to be a shootout. I understand Kansas City is extremely injured right now, and we really don't know what is going on with Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to assume that he's going to be 89. I'm going to assume he's going to be good enough, and Kansas City will be back to their 30 points or more that they put down for 2 years in a row almost until their last game. Houston with 55 points themselves last week against Atlanta. Atlanta's defense is the worst in football right now, so that doesn't mean anything. But I think Houston is a really good football team, Ralph. I actually bet Houston at +7.5 on Monday morning before the line moved. Actually, it was late Sunday night. Now we've got a 5 on the board for Kansas City, over and under 55. And I'm going to tell you my take on this. I like Houston and I like the over. And the reason for me is I want to isolate this game down to one thing and one thing only. And can Houston put up 28 points? I say they can and they will. Kansas City does not have a good defense. If Houston can put up 28 points, at the worst, I go 1-1 with Houston and the over. At the best, I go 2-0. I think this game is going to come, the fourth quarter of this game, I think we're going to see 3 scores. My take is Houston and the over. I hand it to you.
Well, again, the back door is always open when you're betting the Chiefs. That's why they're only 2-7 against the spread as a home favorite their last 9. And those are with Mahomes, because when they win, the back door, again, you're down by 10 points. No problem. They'll give up a touchdown. We saw Houston explode for 53. Well, why did they explode for 53? It was the first time they weren't sacked all game. Atlanta had no defensive pressure. We mentioned that on this show last week, and a couple people reached out on Twitter and said, hey, thanks for that. You look at KC, they had no sacks last game. They have defensive line injuries. I don't think they're going to get a lot of pressure anyway. So, with that being said, I lean with Houston. I have no problems with your over. If I see Mahomes, I won't play this game now, but if I see Mahomes banged up at all, like we saw in the second half where he can't move, listen, he's a very mediocre quarterback in that spot. It's a great live betting situation on Texas.
Ralph, Jeff Osgeim from Osgeim Sports, he's on a 17-3 all-play run. 17-3 in his last 20 bets. 31-13 over the last 30 days. He is over 60%, like 66% in his last 90 days. We have a $20 off promo for him. He has a 5% college football bet up now at wagertalk.com. Basically, if you go over to WagerTalk and you use the promo code OSK20, you get $20 off of any package he has worth $40 or more. So you could get his 5% college football bet for half price. You can also get $20 off of his 3-day card, his 7-day card. So head over to wagertalk.com, use OSK20. New Orleans versus Jacksonville. -1 for Jacksonville. The total in this game is 44.5. And you know what, Ralph? I think this Jacksonville team is good. I think the mustache has really brought a great vibe to their offense. They're running an incredible play action passing game right now. New Orleans, they could be the best team in the NFC. Teddy Bridgewater finally had a breakout game last week with 4 touchdown passes, or 3 touchdown passes. This game for me is about a gut feeling. And my gut feeling is Jacksonville wins and covers the one. I feel like you're not going to have New Orleans run off 10 straight with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. So the question is, where are the losses going to come? I think you got Jacksonville coming home after a tough loss last week. I think they're feeling good about themselves. I think they found their quarterback of the future. Their defense is outstanding. I think Bridgewater is going to struggle against them. Mike, I could very well get to the window on Jacksonville here.
I lean Jacksonville, but let me start by saying Teddy Bridgewater as a starter. He has started 32 games. Excuse me, he has started 34 games. He's 27-7 against the spread, and 2 of those losses were when he was thrown in week 16, once here at New Orleans and once in Minnesota. So in meaningful games, Teddy Bridgewater is now 27-5 against the spread as a starter. Now, with that said, the New Orleans Saints defense that held Dallas to 257 yards and held Tampa Bay to 252 yards benefits from their home field, the loudness of the crowd, not being able to change plays. This is the first road game Bridgewater has played since the Seattle game. What happened in that Seattle game? Well, New Orleans returned a punt in the first quarter, took the crowd out of it, scored another touchdown, led 14-0. Didn't have the crowd in it at all. He led at halftime against Dallas 9-3. He led at halftime against Tampa Bay 17-10. I still want to play against Teddy Bridgewater on the road when he gets behind and has to play with some urgency. He hasn't had to do that. You have Kamara and you have Kamara rushing the ball. Playing ahead is so much different from playing behind. This is a situation, again, another game I like the under. And it's a situation that if Jacksonville jumps out to an early lead, it's even though they'll be the favorite at that point, it'll be a spot that I want to play against New Orleans live betting.
Yeah, and I like the under in that game as well. I like Jacksonville and the under. Speaking about the under, I like the under in the Philadelphia-Minnesota game, 44 points. But I also like Philadelphia here, Ralph. I think Philadelphia is the best team in the NFC. I think this team can go into any stadium and win against anybody. Kirk Cousins looked good last week, finally put up a nice game, but he is extremely inconsistent. And we've spoken about this before, Ralph. He played the Giants last week. Kirk Cousins against a good team is as bad as you can be. I like Philly. I think I'm going to get to the window on the under, though. I think this game is going to be a low-scoring game, which is a surprise because I like to play over the total on these Philadelphia games. I had over the total on the Philadelphia game last week. They gave me 31, but the Jets couldn't give me 14, so I lost. Or it was Miami. I don't even want to talk about NFL from before. Anyway, that's where I'm going. Under 44 and the Eagles.
Well, statistically, the Eagles are nowhere near the best team. They've played the number 30 schedule. Okay, you look Washington, Atlanta, the Jets, aren't good. Detroit was fine, and Green Bay, and they're minus 0.3 yards per play, which is number 23. You're looking at a team that's played a below-average schedule and yet is minus yards per play. That's something scary. You look at Minnesota. They played the number 19 schedule. They're plus 1.6 yards per play. That's number 3 in the NFL. Now, why did Kirk Cousins look good? Well, he rushed for 211 yards. The team rushed for 211 yards, 6.2. What happens? You put up 490 yards and 28 points. Against Oakland, what happened? They rushed for 211 yards, 5.6 yards per carry. You put up 34 points. When you rush for 200 yards, any quarterback can run the play action and look good. Can they rush for that many yards against Philly? No. Philly's rush defense, excellent, allowing 63 yards per game, allowing 3.2 yards per carry. So I agree with your under. I don't have an opinion on the side, but I'm going to leave you with a number that's sort of a wow number backing the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings as a non-division home favorite, 18-2-2 against the spread. 18 wins, 2 ATS losses as a non-division home favorite.
And that's why Ralph Michaels is rolling in both college football and the NFL. Washington, Miami. Miami's real shot at winning a game, yet I don't think it's going to happen. Washington now has a new coach, Bill Callahan. I think they're going to be up for this game. They're -3.5. The total is 41. And Ralph, you know, the only thing that interests me in this game, believe it or not, is the over. Why? Because history has shown me that two brutal teams play against each other. Two teams that struggle to score against any type of competition play against each other. We're going to actually see some points on the board. I'm not going to bet this game, but I do lean on the over.
Well, I went back to 2000 and I tweeted out, from week 5 on, this is only the 6th ever winless team versus winless team, 0-4 or 0-5 or worse. So it doesn't happen very often. Are the teams motivated to win? You would think with an interim head coach they are. Or is this a tank for Tua, game where if you win this game, you're not getting the number 1 pick in the draft because you'll be 2 games down.
Yeah.
You'll be 2 games ahead of the opponent. So, with that said, let's say these teams are going to try. 2 stats with interim head coaches. Interim head coaches in their first game have gone 14-22 against the spread the last 36. But an interim head coach that's a favorite, like Washington is against a non-division foe, has gone 19-9-1 against the spread. I mean, that doesn't change the way you handicap the game, but they are interesting numbers to know what to expect. You know what? I am just going to say this. This game won't be on my card. I have absolutely no interest in betting it. And, you're asking a Miami team that's averaged 7 points a game to go over. I can't even give you an opinion on the side and total. So I will take a pass on this game.
Late games, my friend. Let's go. San Fran, the Rams. This is a huge game, especially for both teams. I know that makes no sense. San Fran can really put some distance between them and LA with a win here on the road. And especially if Seattle loses to Cleveland, and they will know about that, they could take a 2-game commanding lead on that division. And the Rams, they frankly need to right that ship. Here's my take on this game, Ralph. I love, and I'm talking love. This is my favorite game, Ralph. The Rams. We know how good San Fran has played this season, and they are running the ball phenomenally. We also know that Cleveland was down 14-3, and they threw a touchdown pass that the idiot receiver bobbled, hit San Fran, grabbed San Fran's DB. He took the ball, ran it back to the 50, and then it was 21-3 quick. So we saw what happened with San Fran in Pittsburgh. Turnover. The Rams aren't a team that is going to turn the ball over 3 to 4 times. They're playing at home. They should have beat Seattle. They had the ball. They could have kicked a field goal to win the game, and they did turn the ball over. Do I think San Fran is a playoff team? Yes. Am I impressed with them? Yes. Their wide receiver core, I didn't think much of. They're playing well. Kittle looks amazing. Their running game is on point, and their defenses look great too. With that said, I don't think they're as good as the Rams. I'm going to take the 3. I'm going to lay the 3, and I'm going to the window on this game. What do you like?
Well, I am praying to the betting gods that this is the official end to your streak, because I agree with you. So we're considering anything you did in the NFL prior to this, gone.
Done.
This is the Prez NFL season 2.0. It starts at this time, Wednesday, October the 9th. NFL season starts right now for Prez, and his first play of the year is on the Rams. And I agree with you, Prez. I'll tell you what, for new handicappers, one of my favorite angles, and it's not an angle that I can give you a record on, but when you have a better NFL team that is used to winning, looking up in the standings to a newcomer, that is just a powerful handicapping tool. Put that in your pocket, use it the rest of the way. A better team in the NFL looking up in the standings is something I always want to be on, backing that team.
It's great angle.
You look at San Francisco and they are impressive as anyone, plus 170 yards per game. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's who they've played on offense. Tampa Bay is currently number 17. Cincinnati is number 26. Pittsburgh is 29. Cleveland is 23. So you've played 4 foes. The best offense you faced is the number 17 offense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the LA Rams have the number 5 offense that have put up over almost 1,000 yards the last 2 games. I think you said it well. You're looking at a team. Here's another expectation. When you have a regular season win total of 9.5 or higher, like the Rams had. So going into the year, you're expected to win. People bet on you to win. Those teams, when they're coming off back-to-back losses since 2015, have gone 63.1% against the spread, including 12-4 the last 2 years. I agree with you on the Rams, period.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. Guys, really quick, use the promo code OSK20 for $20 off of Oskeim Sports any package, and the promo code 126 to get the next 30 days of Ralph Michaels plays for $199. Ralph, Atlanta, Arizona. I've banned myself from betting on Atlanta. I'm not going to bet Arizona, but I do like over the total in this game. I think, we have the speed of the Arizona offense. We have the worst defense in the league in Atlanta. We saw Atlanta is capable of putting up points. Arizona's defense is not exactly stout. I understand it's 51. The weather's going to be perfect. I'm going with over the total.
And you mean the weather's good in the Dome in Arizona?
Yeah, it's going to be perfect.
It usually is. I'm not sure if I'm going to get the window with Atlanta, but you've played decent defenses in Houston, in Tennessee, and Indy, and Philly, and Minnesota. Boy, you have not played a bottom half defense, and now you are. So that has to do with your total. Only one way for me to go is a desperate team playing a very crappy team in Arizona, even though they beat Cincinnati. It's a situation where it's either Atlanta or pass for me.
Ralph, Dallas -7 against the Jets. You spoke about this game at the beginning. We talked about the trends. I like Dallas in this game. I also like over the total in this game, Ralph, and the main reason is I think we got Darnold coming back. I think the Jets are going to score. But I'm not going to the window on this game. This game will ultimately be a pass for me. What do you like, brother?
I like, to me, it's either Dallas or pass. And the way Dallas is playing, I mean, there's really no explanation except, again, you played a horrible Giants team, you played a horrible Washington team, you played a horrible Miami team. So perhaps my expectations of Dallas were too high and I had them overrated too high early. Yes, you lost to a good New Orleans team and a good Green Bay team, but the offense has been out of sync, even though they put up a ton of yards against Green Bay in the second half. To me, that's the selling point, that at least they came back against Green Bay and the offense got back in gear. Is it enough to get me to the window? I don't know, but it's Dallas or pass.
Last game on the board for us to talk about, Tennessee versus Denver. Tennessee came out at -2. It's now gone the other way. Denver finds themselves at -2 to 2.5 with an over and under of 39.5. Tennessee is 4-1 to the under, and that's where I'm going in this game. I think this game is going to be an absolute snooze fest. If you find that you want to go through being really tired and really awake, may I suggest you watch the Kansas City game at 1 o'clock, get a buzz, drink some coffee, and then nap during the Denver-Tennessee game. Two opposite sides of the coin. I like the under in this game, and Ralph, I will be at the window with it.
This game might actually be under 2.5 hours. Both teams are going to run the ball. The thing I like about Denver is this. They were 0-4 the way they started. We saw the offense being anemic. Joe Flacco got a lot of flack. But, they got their fullback back, and it changed their rush attack last week against the Chargers, rushing for 191 yards and 6.0 yards per carry. Can they run on Tennessee? Tennessee's got a decent defense, but I think both teams are going to be 70 to 30% run pass. I agree with the under with that philosophy, and I actually lean Denver, but I don't like playing into that line move because Tennessee off the loss and Denver off the win changed the line that much. The Broncos and the under that you're referring to, Prez, in the last 14 games Denver has played, they've gone 1-12-1 over under. So, you look at it. Oh, yeah, and that over, the over was a couple weeks ago against the Jags. That was a 26-24 game that, looked like it was going to be under, and they scored late to put it over the total.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying to me is they went over the total one game in their last 14, right?
That's what I'm telling you.
And the only time I took Denver under the total was that game, right?
Against the Jags. Yeah. Okay, well, see, you are special. You are one of the 7.7% that could pick out that one game in 14 that Denver can go over the total.
And lose it. Well, Moneyline bets, teaser, survivor. Let's get going. Moneyline for me, bottom line here is I like Houston on the money line. I think they could win this game, Ralph. It's +5. We've got a very banged up Kansas City team, and we don't know anything about Mahomes yet. But even if Kansas City was at their healthiest, Houston can legitimately win this game. I also am going to sprinkle, as Marco says, a small amount of money on the Jets. I think Darnold is coming back. I think they're going to be hungry to put something up. And, we've seen Dallas just stink their last 2 games, so who the hell knows? And are you ready for this, bro? Natty, +11. I'm going to put a little bit on the money line on that. And the reason is, like Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton is capable of incredible games every now and then. And I don't yet know how this Baltimore team really is. Obviously, it's a long, long shot, but that's what a big money line bet is. What do you like?
I actually like your Cincinnati play at +450.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm going to look at Monday night, I'm going to call Detroit +185 or 190 against Green Bay. And I will say this. Hopefully Gianni is not suing you for using his sprinkle improperly. It is not Marco that sprinkles. It is Gianni that sprinkles.
Yeah, because Marco would be eating the sprinkles.
Marco is fat and sassy. Gianni is sprinkle.
Okay, there you go. Teaser bet for me, Ralph. I'm only going to make one. I lost my how can you lose teaser last week. Strangely, Dallas will be in my teaser, even though I like the Jets just a small bit on the money line. I'm doing a 10-point 3-team teaser. I am breaking the cross-zero rule. I am taking New England. I am taking Baltimore, yes, against my natty play. And I am taking Dallas. I am putting a very small amount on this teaser. I like nothing else.
Yeah, I'm not a big teaser guy, except if it's the obvious situation. So I will say good luck to you on your teaser.
Ralph, I took Kansas City in my survivor pool.
See you later.
Well, it's a second chance survivor pool, so I get to keep going. What do we do this week, Ralph?
Yeah, I would say since you bet the money line on the biggest dog, you can't take the biggest dog. So, I would say it's the New England Giants.
I've already used up New England, my brother.
What are you doing using them?
I screwed up, man. I screwed up.
This is why you save them.
You don't save shit, Ralph. You just make it to the next week.
Yeah, you're on your own, Prez, there.
I don't know either. I'll tweet out my Survivor play. You can catch me at Prez Wager Talk. Ralph, give out your Twitter and let's get going.
At Cal Sports LV, 30-day access, normally $325. Just type in 126 is the code. You're getting 4 weeks for $199. Basically, buying 2 weeks, getting 2 weeks free.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. That's the NFL presidential address. Thanks to all of you for watching. Make sure to watch Puck Time, hockey, and more hockey, and we'll speak to you all soon.